Hey everyone, Dave here with another Blu-ray collection update haul video. This one, we're going to be covering Wave 24 from Imprint Films. These are the December 2022 titles. As you know, it's taken me a little while to get around to these ones, but we're finally here, so let's get into it. Alright, so as I said at the top there, we're going to be covering the December Imprint Films Wave. Let's get into these. There's quite a few to take a look at. We're going to kick it off with number 192, Sam Peckinpah's The Killer Elite, starring James Caan and Robert Duvall. Friends George Hansen and Mike Locken are hitmen who do contract jobs for a company called Comtech, associated with the CIA. But when George gets a better offer from the competition, he turns on Mike. This edition of The Killer Elite comes in one of Imprint's fantastic hard box sets. The box set includes 2 cuts of the film, the original theatrical cut and an alternate theatrical cut. Each cut of the movie is presented within its own amaret case. The original theatrical cut of the movie is loaded with bonus features, including a brand new audio commentary by Sam Peckinpah expert Mike Siegel, an interview with film historian Kim Newman, and an interview with Hollywood stylist Elaine Bowerbank, as well as a video essay by filmmaker Daniel Kremer. It also includes a number of archival bonus features, including featurettes, trailers, image galleries, and more. Once again, we've got another movie in the Imprint line that I'm shocked I have never heard of. This is a movie starring, of course, 2 of the screen greats, 2 of my favourites, James Caan and Robert Duvall. And this one is about as fun as I expected it would be, judging by their works from this period. However, it is a bit of an old one. The movie kicks off as like a bit of a buddy cop action comedy adventure movie, and then something happens. It takes a turn into like this weird spy crime thriller, and then towards the end of the movie, James Caan is fighting ninjas on a boat using some crazy martial arts. It is such a weird and wacky movie. It's probably not really a great movie, but it is a lot of fun. Robert Duvall really isn't in this much at all. He's in it in the beginning, and then when it takes like the turn, he disappears for pretty much most of the movie. It is so weird, but I had a lot of fun with this, and Sam Peckinpah's films are always really good value. Now again, this one comes with 2 cuts. It comes with the original theatrical cut and the alternate theatrical cut. Now the alternate theatrical cut, I believe, is the cut that was released in Europe. It was slightly censored. I think it's only a couple of minutes shorter. I think there were a few censorship things that were just like trimmed in and out. I don't think it's like hugely noticeable differences. I did watch the original theatrical cut. I just wanted to watch the original unedited, uncensored version of the movie, but you do have both versions that you can check out. And I would highly recommend this one. This one is, again, a whole lot of fun. Next up, we have got war classic The Eagle Has Landed, starring Michael Caine, Donald Sutherland, and Robert Duvall. A German strike force aimed to kidnap Winston Churchill during World War II, when the British Prime Minister plans to stay in an almost deserted village in Norfolk for a much-needed rest. All appears to be going smoothly until an unforeseeable incident exposes the Germans. Once again, this is presented in one of Imprint's fantastic hard box sets, including 2 cuts of the movie, a theatrical cut and an extended cut, presented across 2 separate amaret cases. While The Eagle Has Landed has been available on Blu-ray in Australia before, this is the debut of these 2 cuts of the movie on the format, and they are absolutely loaded with brand new bonus features, including new audio commentaries on both versions of the movies, new interviews with film historians, and a number of brand new featurettes. It also includes a number of archival bonus features, including vintage interviews, featurettes, and behind-the-scenes footage. Eagle Has Landed is one of those classic war films that I, for some reason, had just never got around to watching. I had the previous Blu-ray of this for a long time, probably since it first came out, maybe 10 or so years ago. It's just been sitting on my shelf, hasn't been watched. So finally, this new release gave me the excuse to check out the movie. Now, luckily, I actually hadn't watched the movie before, because This set right here, it includes two versions of the movie, the theatrical cut, which runs for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, the extended cut, which runs for 2.5 hours, which essentially just adds a bunch of new scenes and stuff, and the version that was previously released on Blu-ray is actually a censored cut of the film, which was a UK, I think, television version, or maybe UK home video version of the movie that was censored many, many years ago and became like the standard home media version of the film for a long time, and that one runs at, I think, just over 2 hours. So luckily I hadn't watched the censored version of the movie over all these years, because now I finally had the chance to watch the fully uncensored original theatrical edition. In fact, actually, I watched the extended version of this. I thought the movie was okay. I didn't think it was the best of these kind of classic war epics. Michael Caine, Donald Sutherland, and Robert Duvall are all pretty good in here, but the movie is just a little bit boring for a long stretch of time. Again, it's a 2.5 hour movie, but for a long stretch of the runtime, not a lot happens. It's like them planning this kind of assault, and it's told from the perspective of the Germans. So all these American and British actors are playing German characters, and we're supposed to buy these guys as Nazis. So from the beginning, that's just a little bit kind of weird. But then, yeah, this whole movie is like about them planning to kidnap Winston Churchill. And then like the last half hour, 45 minutes is a bunch of action stuff. And when the action kicks in, the action is really cool. Some really great war, sequences here. But for the most of the movie, it is just a real bore. Unfortunately, I was really looking forward to checking this one out. But I thought it was okay. But yeah, I would highly recommend getting this box set. Again, this is the only time in Australia anyway that these two versions of the movie have been available. I think they might be worldwide exclusives on the format, but I would have to double check on that. But yeah, so if you do have the previous version of this on Blu-ray here in Australia, and you enjoy the movie, I would definitely recommend picking this one up because it is a completely different cut. And I'm kind of happy now that I own like 3 different cuts of this film. It's going to be something interesting to kind of go and have a look at. I might actually like have a little look at the what is the censored cut and just kind of do a little comparison at some point. But yeah, I didn't love it, but it's definitely something that's worth having a look at. Next up is number 194, Marlon Brando in Burn. Slaves on vast Portuguese sugar plantations are ready to turn their misery into rebellion, and the British are ready to provide the spark. They send Agent William Walker on a devious 3-part mission. Once again, Burn comes in a special hard box edition featuring 2 cuts of the movie. The original Italian language cut of the film, named Quemada, and the export cut of the film in English, named Burn. Each cut of the film comes in its own individual Amaray case. The set is also complemented by a bunch of brand new bonus features, including an audio commentary, 2 new video essays on Marlon Brando in the 1960s, and a number of new interviews. It also includes an archival interview with director Gillo Pontecorvo and theatrical trailers. Burn is an Italian film from the late 1960s. It comes at this time in Marlon Brando's career where he's starting to really experiment with the kinds of movies he's doing. He starts doing a lot of movies outside of the Hollywood system. He's doing a lot of kind of really weird shit at this time in his career. This is sort of a spaghetti western-ish kind of movie from the era, a lower budget kind of B movie where these movies were well known for just pulling in actors from all different ethnicities. You'd have Italian-speaking actors, English-speaking actors, Spanish-speaking actors, depending on who they could get. And I guess in some way, they would get Marlon Brando into a film like this so that they could sell the movie in international markets. But what they would do is they'd get all these people speaking different languages and just let them speak their native language in front of the camera, and then they'd overdub all the dialogue later. So the original theatrical version of this movie went out. Brando, of course, spoke in English while he was making the film, and they overdubbed him in Italian. Now, the original name of the movie was Quemada, and it went out with an Italian dub. That's the original theatrical version. It's included here in the box set. There was also an export English dub of the film, which used the original Marlon Brando English dialogue, and then overdubbed all the Italian and Spanish-speaking performers with English. So no matter what version of the movie you watch, there's some sort of weird dubbing going on. I just think these movies are really fascinating. But of course, this English dub version of the movie is included in this box set here as well, which went under the English title of burn. Now, I didn't really love this. I was hoping to really like it. Marlon Brando is one of my favorite performers. I found this movie just kind of really long and tediously boring. Not a lot really goes on. It's quite spectacular. There's a lot of really big, spectacular, epic sequences, but it was just a movie that never really held my attention. Now, I watched the English dub version because usually I would watch like the original language version of a movie. If it was one of these kind of spaghetti westerns, I would watch it in Italian. However, if I'm watching Marlon Brando, I want to see and hear Brando. I wanted to hear Brando's English language, you know, his actual performance of the movie. So I watched that English language version, which is, I think, like 15 to 20 minutes shorter than the actual Italian version of the movie. Thank the Lord I didn't watch the longest version of the... Usually, again, I would watch the longer version than the shorter one, but thankfully I didn't watch that because it would have been far too long. Far too long. But yeah, look, this is kind of a weird kind of curio in Brando's career, and there's a couple of really great featurettes on here, brand new video essays exploring Brando in the 1960s and kind of really giving a better kind of understanding of where this movie comes in his filmography and his career. That was fascinating and kind of gave the movie a little bit more of a... it kind of made the movie seem a little bit more interesting to me. It put it in a little bit more of a perspective. So I would certainly recommend, if you're going to check this out, you watch those documentaries as well and kind of put it in a little bit of context. Look, if you're a Brando fan, his performance here is really, really good. Brando was always very good. No matter how weird or average the movie was, Brando was always really good. And this is definitely worth watching to check out his performance in it. In fact, I believe he said that this was either his favourite or one of his favourite performances of his own, and he is terrific in this. So as a Brando fan, I'm happy I watched this, but I didn't particularly really love it that much. Coming up next is number 195, Fear is the Key, starring Barry Newman and Susie Kendall. Following the death of his family in an airplane crash, underwater salvage expert John Talbot hatches an elaborate scheme to bring those responsible to justice. His exploits attract the attention of the criminal mastermind behind his family's demise, who hires him to recover the valuables aboard a recently crash-landed plane. This edition of the movie comes with a number of brand new bonus features, including an audio commentary by film historian Kim Newman and author Sean Hogan, and interviews with associate producer Gavrik Losi and cast and crew. Now, this is an action-adventure movie from the early 1970s. Again, this is another one of those movies that feels like it's built in the kind of same mold as James Bond. Got so many of these big, explosive, bombastic, action spy movies that are coming out in, you know, the 1960s, 1970s, when Bond is really at its peak. And this is another example of kind of a Hollywood version of a James Bond film. Now, I'm not familiar with Barry Newman's work at all. I'm not sure if I've ever really seen him in anything else, so this was brand new to me, but I thought he was a whole lot of fun in here as this kind of macho action man. This is a balls to the walls action film. It kicks off with like this 15-minute car chase sequence, which is absolutely awesome, and the movie just kind of snowballs from there. It gets crazier and crazier and wilder as it goes along. Didn't love the movie, but I thought it was quite a bit of fun. Lots of great action and stuff like that. Not as good as the James Bond movies, of course, but if you're a fan of these kinds of films, I definitely recommend giving this one a look. Up next is number 196, Porkchop Hill, starring Gregory Peck. Lieutenant Joe Clemens has been given the order, take Porkchop Hill. If it's taken by the Chinese, US negotiators at the Panmunjom Peace Conference would lose face with their communist adversaries, an unthinkable outcome. And so Clemens leads his troops into combat to fight for an objective that they know to be strategically pointless. This edition comes with a brand new audio commentary by film historians Stephen J. Rubin and Steve Mitchell, as well as a vintage documentary, Gregory Peck, His Own Man. So we've got a war film from the late 1960s starring Gregory Peck here. Gregory Peck did quite a number of these war films during the period, and they're always usually quite great. I really like Gregory Peck's performance style, and his movies are always a lot of fun. This one, though, is one that I never really sought out to get a copy of and check out for whatever reason, so I'm really happy that Imprint finally got this one on Blu-ray. Now, I didn't love this one. It wasn't really kind of what I was expecting. It's not like a full-on war movie. I was expecting like a balls-to-the-wall 1960s 60s war film, but it's more so of like a really dramatic character piece, which makes sense given that Gregory Peck usually tended to favor these kind of more dramatic movies. It's more so about, you know, the characters here and about questioning the purpose of war, the purpose of sending troops out to do something which is essentially a losing battle, and all this kind of stuff. I think was actually really quite an interesting and riveting piece. There are some great action sequences, so more towards the end of the movie, really great stuff. But yeah, mostly it is like a great character piece, only like about 90 odd minutes long too. I thought visually it was gorgeous as well. The staging of the battle sequences is great. There's some sequences where you literally just follow characters up this hill and through the trenches. It just looks beautiful. It's filmed unlike anything I've seen from a war movie from this era. And it's quite unique in the way that pretty much the entire movie takes place on the battlefield. You never really see outside it, you never really see people planning things behind the scenes. Pretty much all of it takes place on this battlefield, which again, for the time period, was really quite, I won't say revolutionary, but it was quite different, quite unique. And look, I enjoyed this one. If you like Gregory Peck, if you enjoy your war movies, you like your movies from this era, I would definitely recommend giving this one a look. Next up, we've got number 197, A Rage to Live. Grace Caldwell, a young Pennsylvania newspaper heiress living with her widowed mother, has trouble restraining herself when it comes to the amorous attentions of young men. As word starts to spread about her behaviour, Grace becomes a major source of heartache for her family. This edition comes with 2 brand new bonus features, including a video essay by film historian and filmmaker Daniel Kremer, and a piece by author Neil Sinyard on the career of Suzanne Pleshette. So, A Rage to Live is an overly melodramatic and trashy piece starring Suzanne Pleshette. This movie most notably was made in the mid-60s, so the motion picture code, the Hays Code, was still in effect at the time. And this movie is kind of well known for being quite promiscuous and quite sexual and quite, I guess, groundbreaking for the time period. This is a very, very sexual film. There's a lot of stuff going on here that you never would have seen on the screen at the time, and it is quite remarkable that a movie like this was made during the Hays Code, which was very, very, very strict on what you could see, what you could do, what you could say on the screen. But this movie really does go overboard, and it is trashy and melodramatic. Suzanne Pleshette is actually really quite good here, though she has said that this is the worst one of her films, or the worst film performance she ever gave. And I can certainly see why, because I really didn't enjoy this. I didn't have a lot of fun with this. And to be quite frank, I can't really remember a whole lot of it. I just remember that it was quite odd for its time. So as a bit of a curio, as I like to say here, as a bit of a curio of cinema, particularly from the time period, it's worth having a look at, but don't expect a really great film. Now, that is all of the titles from December 2022's Wave 24 from Imprint. However, Imprint did release 2 special editions around the same time as this wave, so I want to take a look at them now. Firstly, we have got Imprint number 1, The War of the Worlds. Yes, you heard that right. Imprint has gone right back to the beginning and reissued their number 1 installment in the Imprint range, but this time on 4K. This is the very first 4K installment in the Imprint wave, and they have done this to celebrate their 200th release. Can you believe it? We've been doing these for about 3 years now, and they're up to 200 releases, which is absolutely crazy. This edition of The War of the Worlds not only is in 4K, but it comes in this stunning hard box, which has a terrific lenticular cover on the front right there, and the movie itself is housed inside a steelbook, which is really, really cool. Not only is this the first 4K disc that Imprint has done, but this is the first steelbook they have done, and this is the first lenticular cover that they've done. There are a couple more of these on the way, and I'm really, really excited to check them out. Not a whole lot different with this edition right here, other than the stunning packaging, which also, by the way, does come with a little booklet. It's got some writing on the film, as well as a bunch of movie posters printed in there for you as well. Not too much different as far as the contents go, other than, of course, the movie on 4K. All the bonus features features there. It includes a Blu-ray disc too, which is basically the original Blu-ray disc that was distributed a couple of years ago. All the bonus features and all that are exactly the same as what was on the previous release. But this is such a stunning little release right here that I had to spotlight it. Of course, I sung my praises of this new restoration of the movie when it first came out here. I believe Australia was the first place to get this movie, but very, very soon after, a US release came out, then a UK release came out, then a UK and US 4K release came out, and now Imprint has gone back and done a 4K release of this as well. Now, this was a new transfer from Paramount Pictures at the time. This is the exact same transfer, but we're now seeing this 4K transfer in 4K. The Blu-ray looks fantastic, and the 4K, of course, looks fantastic as well. This, of course, was a Technicolor sci-fi extravaganza from the middle 50s. It was shot using the 3-strip Technicolor process, which is some of the most stunning film stock ever. The colors in Technicolor, the 3-strip Technicolor films, absolutely burst and look beautiful. And in this 4K restoration, this movie looks better than ever. These colors burst from the screen. They are absolutely scrumptious. And of course, this is a really filmic looking transformation. There's a lot of great film grain. The level of film grain is great, but it's also sharp and crisp, and it's so good. If you do already own this one on Blu-ray, I think the uptick to 4K is definitely worth it. It is an expensive package because it comes with the steelbook, and of course it's 4K and hardbox and all that. And we know that Imprint do have the tendency to have very high price points on some of their stuff, but this one, if you're a big fan of the movie like myself, this is definitely one worth upgrading to. And finally, we have the box set of The Avengers, the Emma Peel collection. No, this isn't Marvel's Avengers, this is the British television series The Avengers from the 1960s. This is another hard box collection as part of the Imprint television line. It's only number 3 in the Imprint television line so far, and it includes 2 seasons from the original Avengers series. They are seasons 4 and seasons 5, the 2 seasons that star Diana Rigg as Emma Peel. With lethal bowler hat and umbrella, killer fashion and kung fu, extraordinary secret agents John Steed and Emma Peel investigate bizarre and colourful adventures with nonchalant efficiency, sophistication and charm. As I mentioned, this one comes in a beautiful sturdy hardbox and comes with the 2 seasons, including here, across 4 Amaray cases and 16 Blu-ray discs. It also comes with a mini booklet which has a little bit of writing on the film, lots of great photos, and an episode guide for the episodes included in the set. Not only does this set include all 50 episodes starring Diana Rigg as Emma Peel, but it's loaded with a whole bunch of bonus features. Now, these were released on Blu-ray over in the UK thanks to Network a couple of years ago, so most of the bonus features here, including behind-the-scenes documentaries, featurettes, interviews, audio commentaries, archival footage, etc., were presented on those original Network discs. What we do have though is a bonus disc featuring a number of original episodes from the early season. The Avengers is such a fun little British television series. I love these kind of spy series that were on television around this time. Again, there's another thing where around the time of James Bond, spy mania really kicked off. Now, this series actually predates the James Bond movies, but kind of came out around the time that Ian Fleming's novels were quite big. These came out in 1961, was the first season of this. I believe Dr. No was 1962, so it kind of cut in before that first James Bond movie came out. But as the series kind of progressed, it became more and more James Bond over time. The earlier seasons were shot in black and white. They didn't star Diana Rigg. Diana Rigg only starred in series 4 and 5 of this 7-season or 6-season series. Of course, Imprint have only put the series starring Diana Rigg out on Blu-ray. I believe a couple of the earlier seasons, maybe the last season, were put out on Blu-ray by Network as well. But the earlier seasons, I believe, are mostly made up of missing episodes. So the BBC threw out a lot of the tapes and film reels and stuff that housed a lot of their really early television series. There's a lot of Doctor Who that's missing as well. So the Avengers is one of those series where a bunch of episodes are missing, so you never expect them to hit Blu-ray. I think that what is available on DVD out there anyway. But yeah, it's really great to get this collection here. This is like the peak era. When people think of the Avengers series, they think of the Emma Peel era with Diana Rigg. Of course, Diana Rigg passed away only a couple of years ago, so this is a really great way to celebrate her legacy on this show. These look gorgeous. So these, you know me, I love when they take classic television series and clean it up from the original elements. I'm so happy with how these look. This is unlike, you know, we never thought we'd see series from this era looking this good. So it's great to have them on HD, it's great to have them on Blu-ray, and in this stunning little box set right here from Imprint. If you're a fan of the show, or if you've just been curious to check this show out over time, like me, I'd never really seen a whole lot of this. I've seen bits and pieces of it on television over the years and wanted to check out more. So this is a really great way to kind of dive into it and experience some of the more classic, I guess iconic episodes from the series. And again, bundles of bonus features, got a little booklet in there. The hard box is gorgeous. This is a must-buy set from Imprint. And that is all the titles from Imprint Wave 24. As I said, a whole bunch of stuff here, but we got through it all. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.